Welcome to Leading the Follower with your host, Rebecca Benston. Good morning and welcome back to Leading the Follower. I am Rebecca Benston and I'll be the one doing all of the talking today. As usual, I am here on Friday with your end of the week message to try and give you a little inspiration, hopefully a little motivation for your weekend and something that you can take with you to inspire you today. So, um, sadly, I don't really have a plan. I usually will think of something during the day or the night before that I want to talk about, and sometimes it hits me all at once. It's like, here's your topic. You have to talk about this, and this is the inspiration for that, and this is why it's important. But sometimes, I mean, I'll go for days without any inkling of anything that is important enough to talk about because there's just so much going on around us, and it feels like anything would be too much. But today, I did have a slight bit of inspiration in just my normal everyday watching and listening. Um, and I want to talk a little bit about that. But first, I have to ask you to stop by my website at highergroundbooksandmedia.com. Take a look around, sign up for our newsletter, um, and check out our shop and see what we have there for you. We have lots of great fiction and nonfiction. We have children's books. We have lots of ministry resources, devotionals, things like that. And I think you'll find something that resonates with you. Um, a lot of our titles are available also as audiobooks. So you'll find that I think we have about, I want to say 40 or more titles that are available as audiobooks right now. We do those kind of slowly because it is a big process, but whenever we have one that's appropriate for audio, I try to take it over and get it transferred to an audiobook because that's one of my favorite things. I love to listen to audiobooks while I work and do other things. I don't know, it occupies some part of my brain that needs to be occupied while I'm doing other things. So, and also for people who just don't have time to sit down with a book or like to listen in their car on their commute or whatever pockets of time you find for your reading and entertainment. Um, it's always nice to have the ability to listen to a book rather than have to pick it up and focus on the words instead of the million other things you're probably needing to get done. So, if you are interested in audiobooks for us, you can go to our Amazon listings for each of our titles. And if there is an audiobook available right now, I believe there is a listing for different versions of the book. Everything that we have is generally available as Kindle, paperback, and then for those that are on audio, you'll see a listing for an audiobook. Um, so try that out. And I mean, we have some great books on audio. All of my mystery series, the Rona Shively stories, is available. That's 10 books. So if you like good, sarcastic, funny female private detectives, you could probably benefit from listening to that series. It was a lot of fun for me to write. I'm still writing. I have the 11th book that I am working on right now that has been kind of dragging on because of time constraints and energy and just life. But I'm working on that through Kindle Vella, and that is the serialized books that are available on Amazon. You can buy episodes. And so those episodes are released, as the author sees fit. Um, I have been really bad about posting new episodes lately, but I intend to get back on schedule very soon and have some new episodes for you. And then once the episodes are done, um, that book will become available as a full novel, um, probably about a month or two after the last episode goes up. So you can either follow along episode by episode, and I do believe when you join that, you have some free tokens that you can spend on the reading, and you know the tokens really don't cost that much, and you're charged kind of by chapter and stuff. So it's kind of a neat way to allow yourself to look at a whole bunch of different titles and stuff. I read probably 20 or 30 books that were over there over the course of several months, just in passing when I needed something to look at, just for a minute to get my mind off of everything else. Um, I would go and support my fellow Vela authors, and it's kind of a nice thing. So if you get a chance, check that out as well. Um, so my topic today um, has a lot to do with what we show others. Um, last last episode was a little difficult for me, and I got a little emotional, and I struggled with whether or not to share the whole thing. I really listened to it a few times, and I thought about cutting out a good portion of it because there was a section where I was upset. But then I thought, there's no good way to cut this. If I want to make the point that I'm trying to make, you have to see you have to hear how it impacted me so that maybe it will resonate with you in the way that I intended it to. Um, I didn't know that I was going to be overtaken by that emotion when I started talking, as I often just kind of talk, off the cuff and don't really have a script or anything. So um, it kind of caught me by surprise a little bit. So when it was done, I didn't quite know what to do with it. But then I thought, I've attempted to do this podcast about 6 times, and technical difficulties and all that just got in the way. And it was just, I think at that point, it was time to go ahead and just let that go through. So, if people think less of me because I got a little emotional while I was talking, well, that's fine. But luckily, I don't have a very large audience, so there's not many people who can think less of me that already don't. So uh, it's probably not as much damage as one would think. So, but anyway, in terms of what we show others, we all hear the whole phrase, the tip of the iceberg. Everything we see is just the tip of the iceberg, which is kind of stupid, but um, but I get it. I got to thinking about that, and I thought, do people even want to see the bottom of the iceberg ever? Is there anybody out there who goes looking for the rest of that iceberg? Does anybody care? Does anybody even believe that there are icebergs out there? I mean, I sometimes wonder, because there's so much that is out in our news today that goes through my feed, and I look at it and I think, why are people not more upset over this? Are they not seeing it? I mean, I know people are consuming social media and stuff probably at a greater rate than I am, even though I'm on quite a bit just because I'm always looking for um, things that I need to pay attention to and inspiration and so forth. Um, and so when I'm looking, I'm scrolling through, I'm seeing all these awful, awful things that are going on in our world, and people being just terribly nasty to each other everywhere over stupid things. Um, and it seems like people are not concerned enough with what's going on, or things that should be called a cause for concern just don't seem to be um, raising red flags anymore. And I don't understand why that is. When I was growing up, reading about some of these things would have been unheard of. It just, that kind of stuff was just awful. But it just seems to be that people are just plowing through and they're like, well, as long as it doesn't touch me directly, I'm okay. Well, no, it does touch you directly, because every time someone is hurt by the actions of another person, then it makes the world that much less safe for the rest of us. Every time it's overlooked when someone breaks the law, um, every time we look the other way when there's clearly enough evidence, clearly enough has been said or found or heard to take action on something, and people don't for whatever reason. Um, every time the system fails to do its job to protect us from that sort of thing, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker until there's really no need for that system. And, without getting too far into it politically, because God forbid anybody say anything that is concrete on one side or the other, because everybody gets, all bunched up over it. Um, what happened to holding people accountable, and what happened to being able to trust in the systems that were created to protect us? It really has gotten to a point where I trust absolutely nothing. I don't trust our our doctors. I don't trust our educational system. I don't trust our city governments. I don't trust our federal governments, that's for sure. I don't trust our elections. I don't trust our elected officials. There are only a handful of people in government that I would say have good intentions. And, that's iffy. That's just because they've either been really good at hiding the things that they do, or they're really genuinely not doing the bad things like 99% of the rest of them are. So, um, and I know I'm not the only one capable of seeing this. So it's either people don't want to see, they don't care, or somehow they're being blocked from seeing what I'm seeing. Um, and all three of those should be cause for concern, because I'm a fairly rational person, and truthfully, I hate politics. I hate doing anything that has to do with mainstream. I'm never big on the bandwagon mentality. I've never enjoyed any of that stuff. I've never wanted to be such a big part of any movement that I let it take over my thought processes. I like to think for myself. I like to come up with, does what I'm seeing go with what I've heard and what I've learned? And if not, why? I like to dig for that answer. I don't like for people to spoon feed me anything and tell me what I'm supposed to think or what I'm supposed to do. I'm not that way, never have been, and never will be. So it concerns me that it seems like there are an awful lot of people out there who are willing to just be told what to think and to be led by the wrong things. You know, if we're going to be led by something, be led by God. But our society doesn't want you to be led by God. Our society doesn't even want you to acknowledge that God is there. And at every turn, they make it almost impossible for you to see His work and what He's done. And it's in your face all the time what the devil has created. And, in Bible studies all throughout, my history as a Christian, I guess, um, I have, I've learned one thing, and it's this world is Satan's playground. This is where Satan is allowed to run free and create things to entice people to his way of doing things, and to basically do what he can to keep everybody from having a relationship with God. And God is letting him do that because he gave people free will, and he hopes that we will choose the right path. But, there's no guarantee that that will happen. And he knows that. So he's just hoping that we'll do the right thing. We'll call out to him when we get to that place in our lives where we figure out that he is the solution we need. Um, and he lets us go. And for a long time, we may be walking down the wrong path right alongside the devil and not even realize it because everything looks good. It looks like what we want. It looks like, it won't hurt us necessarily. And even though it might not be completely biblical, we like what we're doing. It makes us happy, and we don't see any harm in it. We're not doing anything to hurt anybody else, but we're not doing anything to help anybody else either. Um, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that people are necessarily concerned with the rest of that iceberg. They just want to see the little pieces that get them from point A to point B. And they don't want to hear that maybe their favorite person is somehow compromised, that maybe what we've seen is not the full picture of that person. We only need to see that part of them that makes us feel good about everything. Um, we don't need to see what their motivation was, maybe how they got to the level of popularity that they're at doesn't make sense. We don't need to justify that. For some reason, we're just completely okay with this person being number one in everything for absolutely no reason. It's just nobody is requiring justification for the things that are obviously nonsensical. And um, it's very scary to the part of our population that isn't following the masses. The fringe, I guess, that would be uh, people who don't ever blend in with everybody else. They probably can understand and resonate with all this, stuff that I'm saying better than anyone else. They can probably see exactly what I mean when I say it's concerning that so many people would go along with so much that doesn't make sense. So um, I've been thinking a lot about that. And the more I watch, well, I try not to watch the news these days. It's terrible. But, when you're at the gym and you see things on the TV and you don't really have control over it, you're looking at it. You're not necessarily absorbing it, but you're looking and you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, what is going on over here?" Everywhere you look, there's this violence and that violence, and there's poverty and there's destruction and there's all of this, and it's all the same. It's all coming from the same hand. Um, it's all coming from the fact that there are good people who are trying to restore sanity back to our country, and get us back on the right track. And then there are people who are blindly fighting against that for whatever reason because someone's telling them that, you know, the other side is wrong. And that's all they need is for someone to tell them, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. So I'm wondering how long this is gonna stay the way it is. How long are we gonna have to deal with this before the good people in the world get fed up? You know, there's a point where good people are done, and at that point, that's where the real battle begins. I mean, we're struggling. I think as a nation, we're struggling. I think that, people are dealing with so many demons right now, and we are overrun by people with bad intentions. So I pray every day that we will get to a place where people will start thinking for themselves again, and where they will look at everything objectively and stop being so tied to their causes and so defined by their identity, whatever that might be, that they remember their true identity in Christ, and that without God in the picture, everything that we have our hands on down here has no value. Everything we do doesn't matter how good it looks above the water, you know? Everything we do is built on the wrong type of rock. And it's going to do more damage than good. So I'm hoping that if you are drawing people to you and you are in a position where you can influence people and you're doing something that you think is beneficial to mankind, I'm hoping that the motivation is right, and that you are working on God's side and not on the side of this world, because drawing people to you for the purpose of destroying them, it won't end up very well for you. If you haven't read the end of the book, um, God does win every time. So, and for those who lose, it's not very pretty. And He doesn't want that for you. He doesn't want that for anyone. He wants everyone to realize that He's there for them, that His love is the right love, and that if we all work together the way he created us to work together, our lives can be beautiful, and our lives can work very well together. But there currently are too many people who are so enamored with the way the world looks to them and the way the world makes them look, uh, that they can't see the benefit of a relationship with God. And it's really sad. So I wonder, um, I don't consider myself to be an iceberg. I don't consider myself to be that sort of a thing, where people only see this much of me, and they can't see what might be hurtful to them, when they approach me. My intention with everyone is always to be helpful. So I hope that I'm never viewed as that sort of an entity, that I'm never viewed as something that people should stay away from, because we don't know what's beneath the surface. And that's a big reason why um, I do these podcasts without a script and without trying to figure out what I need to say beforehand, because um, as it comes to me, I figure if that's what God wants me to say, that's what He's going to have me say. And like with yesterday, if I sound stupid or weak or whatever, then I guess maybe that's where I'm at on that particular day. And people need to know that there is something genuine there, um, that there's an actual emotion. Like, I hate nothing more than scrolling down through Twitter or whatever. X, I'm sorry. I wouldn't want to call them by their wrong name as I think about it. Um, as I'm scrolling down through X, I still cannot get used to calling it that. Um, I see time after time these people, and they post things like breaking or it's happening or something like that. I cannot stand to see that because obviously nothing is really happening. And especially if I see it 20 times in my feed, it's obviously not breaking. Someone broke it first, and you're not breaking it. If you're not the very first one to say it, please don't put breaking as your update. You are not the original thinker on that one. And yet, at least 20 or 30 people in my feed are constantly saying, that they have this big update that nobody else has. When I see the same phrase, the same paragraph as if it was cut and pasted to all these different accounts, and I think, does nobody have an original thought these days? Is everybody so controlled by this algorithm that they can't stand to do things on their own? They can't. They can't put together even a social media post without copying what everybody else is doing. They're so tied into getting those likes and getting those followers that they can't come up with an original idea. That is the most frustrating thing in the world to me. Is to see how controlled people are, even on a side where people claim to be less controlled by things. It's like you're controlled by the algorithm. You're controlled by whatever it is you're trying to do, um, because you're not acting genuinely. Your responses are not genuine. They're cut and pasted from somebody else's original thought. And it's one thing to like repost something and share what someone else has posted because then you're kind of giving them credit, you know. But don't act like it's your original thought. If you have an original thought, by all means have it and put it out there if you want. But stop stealing everybody else's and acting like you've done something. It's frustrating. And, it's like buying an empty bag, really. I mean, it's just like, what do I want with that? This bag looks the same as everybody else's, but there's nothing in there because you're not the one that came up with it. So that it didn't, it's empty. And I don't know, it might be a very weak analogy, but it's frustrating to me. So anyway, while we're ending our week and we're all out here dodging icebergs and empty bags and all that, what a lot of things to think about for you on this Friday. Um, I just want people to come back to being genuine and you know saying what they feel, having their own mind, acting out of their own heart, and when their heart is wrong, owning up to that, taking responsibility, and being held accountable for it. And when your heart is right, being okay with that and moving on to the next thing. There's no shame in being human. But boy, we're moving toward a place where it certainly feels like people are ashamed of it. And where's that going to take us? As I think about how so many things are AI generated and this threat that robots could one day take over. I'm a big science fiction fan, so um, obviously those types of things are in the back of my mind all the time. And I see these technological advances and all of this, and I think, are we moving toward a place where being human is going to be so um, frowned upon that we will just not be that anymore? That we won't be allowed to be human? That would be a terrible place to be. A terrible place to be. So I don't know, as you consider your content, if you are a social media person and you are trying to gain followers or get attention or whatever it is you're trying to do, please think about why you're doing it. Why are you posting every day? Why are you doing your podcasts? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? The more contrived uh, your focus is, the worse it is for everybody. I just, it's not adding benefit. Now, if you're purely entertainment and you're just going along with the trend and all that, that's fine, I guess. I mean, I guess we need entertainment. But I would like to see people be a little bit more intentional and purposeful in the things that they create. And instead of just cranking out something so that you stay in the forefront because you just put something out there and it doesn't matter what it is, um, I'd just like to see people really focus on substance and, um, genuineness and purpose, and just really embracing the human experience to the point where um, our goal is to help people enjoy that instead of um, cover it up or wrap it up in something that is not. God didn't create his human beings to be ashamed of being human beings. Um, he wants us to be all that we are. We're allowed to have emotions. We're allowed to have thought processes that other people don't have, and we need to. So don't be afraid to be genuine and to help others be genuine as well. Thanks for stopping by. Be sure to check out our website and blog. The blog is at www.leading-the-follower.com. Thanks and God bless.